What's good, YouTube? This is the only Big Green Yu-Gi-Oh! And I am back again with another deck profile. And this deck profile is a GOAT format deck profile, and it is zombies, if you guys couldn't already tell from the Vampire Lord. A lot of you guys have been commenting below my videos and have really been supporting me, and I thank you guys for that. And a lot of my comments are about uploading more GOAT format deck profiles from what I've seen. And I love GOAT. If you guys haven't seen that already, I have more GOAT format deck profiles than I actually have current decks. Most of the time I just go to locals and then play until I go more than X1, and then I'll just drop and then play GOAT for the rest of the time. And sometimes I'll just show up to my locals to not even play in the tournament. I'll just play GOAT with my friends when the round is over. So I'm a huge fan of this format, and I definitely want to keep making more decks and bringing them to you guys. But anyways, we can get right into this deck profile. I won't talk anymore. Starting off, I've got 2 Vampire Lords. He was only at 2, which sucks. If he was at 3, definitely would want to play 3 of these. He's the big boss monster of the deck, if you guys couldn't already tell. Whenever he's destroyed by an opponent's card effect, he just revives himself during your standby phase. And then his other effect is, whenever he inflicts battle damage, you declare monster, spell, trap, and then the opponent has to send to grave one of the declared types that you said, which is really good because you never really want to declare monster, especially if they haven't had their Sinister Serpent played yet. Don't call monster because they're just going to send to grave their Sinister Serpent, or they're going to send to grave a light and dark to set up for BLS. So what I would recommend, what I personally like to call, would be traps, because most GOAT decks only run about 4 to 5, maybe 6 traps. And if you declare spells, I mean, they could be playing something cheeky anyways. That's weird. But it's your opinion. It's your personal preference. You can do whatever. And then next up, the 1, Ryukoki. I thought about bumping this guy up to 2, and I might have to bump him up to 2. Whenever he battles a warrior monster or a spellcaster monster, at the end of damage step, it's auto-destroyed. So it's really good at dealing with the opponent's warrior engine. Like, if your opponent is just playing warriors in general, the Warriors GOAT deck, if you guys know what that is, you virtually win that matchup just off of this guy if you can keep him on the board. He's also a good way of getting rid of other threats. And then next up, probably the best monster in the deck that isn't named Vampire Lord is Pyramid Turtle. Whenever he's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a zombie monster with 2,000 or less defense. So guess what that gets you? Vampire Lord, and it also gets you your Koki Miru, or your Ryukoki. Gosh, I'm not good at pronouncing that guy's name. But he virtually can search it. He can search himself out too. But what would be the point of that? I mean, there's really be no point. Next up for the, I believe, the last of the zombies, the 1 Spirit Reaper. It's a GOAT staple. It was a staple in Yu-Gi-Oh! For I don't know how long, like up until 2013, 2014. This card stopped becoming a staple in a lot of decks. This card's been a staple for so long, and of course in this deck, with it being a zombie, it being a target for Pyramid Turtle, you can do some other things with it. So it's not just a stall card like it would be in standard GOAT decks. Next up, a little small warrior engine. A lot of my GOAT decks play a small warrior engine. I love the warrior engine so much. It's a good way of outing like big boss monsters, BLS, Chaos Sorcerer, Jinzo, Aeronite, and any other weird decks. Like, especially in the mirror match, if somebody is actually playing vampires on planet Earth in 2019 in GOAT format. But yeah, it's a good way of getting rid of the Vampire Lord if they can somehow brain control your Vampire Lord or something like that. So I guess it could have that use. Next up, a little Jar engine. Most people only play Morphing Jar, but in this deck, and normally I only play Morphing Jar as well, but in this deck I like the Cyber Jar and the Morphing Jar. Cyber Jar is just really good at blowing the board, or blowing the monsters up on the board, and then resetting that state, and then Morphing Jar for replenishing your hand. I like both of these in this deck. Next up, a Tribe, and then a Sinister. Of course, the mini water engine that almost every GOAT deck plays. Tribe, you discard Sinister, and then declare a type, and then all that type goes bye-bye, and then during your standby, the Sinister comes back to your hand. I mean, just standard stuff. And then for the one-ofs, you've got the one breaker, 19k beater, remove the counter, and it becomes an MST. And then Suki to book the opponent's Thousand Eyes restricts and things like that. That can be a bit of a hassle and an issue. The one Sangan, for obvious reasons, like Sangan can search so much stuff out. It can search almost the entire Warrior engine. It can search the Sinister, your entire Jar engine. It can get you pretty much your entire zombie engine, which is insane. So, of course, you want to play this guy. And then, lastly, the one Giant Rat. I've thought about cutting this guy. I don't know yet. I might cut him and put another Ryu Koki over him. Not too for sure yet. He hasn't really done a whole lot in terms of testing. But then again, he hasn't really been bad either when I've played him. He's just there. And I know the old saying is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I think this is one thing that I might have to fix, even though it's not broke, because it's not really doing much, but who knows. Onto the spells, of course, the Holy Yu-Gi-Oh! Trinity, Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards, Graceful Charity, draw 3, ditch 2, duo, pay 1,000, and then bye-bye to 2 cards in your opponent's hand. All simple. And then the 2 Noblemen of Crossout, aka Nox. Just for dealing with, of course, when your opponent goes T-Set, Magician of Faith, Ring of Destruction, or Magician of Faith, Sakuratsu Armor, you can deal with one of those, like Standard Goat. I guess another good thing that you could say is if somebody knocks you in this deck, it doesn't really hurt that bad. Because now that I'm looking at it, the only 2 flip effects you run are these 2. So yeah, I guess knock is even better in this deck, considering that if they knock you, you don't really run any flip effects to lose. So I guess this is another plus side. I didn't even realize that until now. The standard meta and then the GOAT lineup. 2 GOAT, 2 meta. Normally I play 2 GOAT and 3 meta, but in this deck I figured with the Pyramid Turtle, the Giant Rat, the Spirit Reaper, the Cyber Jar, you can get away with playing 2 of this and 2 of this. You have enough stall potential, and I feel like you also have enough offense to where you don't really need a 3rd meta. So I think this is good for where it stands now. If I did put meta to 3, it would probably be the Giant Rat leaving the deck, but I don't know. The 1 Pre-Mat, and then the 1 Snatch Steal. Of course, standard cards, pay 8, bring back a monster from your grave. And then Snatch Steal, take a monster, and most likely going to tribute it if you were unlucky and opened up this guy in your hand. Onto the standard back row removal. The 1 MST, the 1 heavy. For the zombie part of the deck, 2 Book of Life. This is another card that I'm thinking about taking Giant Rat out for and moving up to 3. The only thing that sucks is you have to have targets in order to activate it. So you have to have a zombie in your grave that you can target, and your opponent has to have a monster in their grave for you to banish. But in a format like this, that's going to be super easy to do. And it's really good at dealing, like if your opponent's playing Chaos Control, this card has a double usage other than just reviving your cards. You can control your opponent's graveyard by keeping them from having a dark and a light in the grave. Also, if they have their Sinister Serpent laying there in the grave, it can deal with that and stop them from that. So there's other utilities for this. Also, if they use Magician of Faith the turn previously to get back something like a Pre-Mat or something, you can also manipulate that part as well. The 2 Creature Swap. This card's really good in terms of synergy with Giant Rat, and then, where's it at? Come out here. The Pyramid Turtle. Because what you can do is you can go Creature Swap and take one of their guys, like, what's common guy? Like if they had a Breaker or DD Warrior Lady, or what's other cards that are really good? Jinzo, Air Knight. You guys get what the thing is. If they just have a board where they've just got like 1 or 2 big beaters on it, you can just manipulate and force them to give you one of them. And then, of course, you're going to want to give them your Pyramid Turtle or your Giant Rat. Then, with whatever monster you got in return, you can just run over and then Giant Rat to search out your Pyramid Turtle. Or if you gave them a Pyramid Turtle, you can run over the Pyramid Turtle. My bad. And then search out your Vampire Lord or your Ryukoki from the deck, and then you'll have their monster and then one of your big monsters. So it's pretty cool interaction there. It's pretty simple Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of stuff that you learn as a child. Card of Safe Return. I've also thought about cutting Giant Rat down to 0 and moving this up to 2 as well. Whenever a monster is special summoned from your graveyard, you get to draw a card. So these are 2 free draws. And then, of course, whenever your Vampire Lord gets revived off of his effect, you draw off of that. Of course, where's Premat? Here it is. Of course, your Premat, you draw off of Premat. So this card has very good utility, especially with just Vampire Lord on its own. Your turns start becoming and drawing for turn, and then immediately in your standby phase, because of his effect, drawing another card. This card virtually lets you draw 2 cards in your turn, which is insane. And then next up on the traps, Call of the Haunted. Again, it has, It has great synergy with Card of Safe Return. And then the One Ring of Destruction, another standard GOAT card. Almost every GOAT deck that I have plays this card. The One Mirror Force, another standard card that pretty much, if you're playing GOAT, even if you're playing the troll decks like Pac-Man or any type of stall deck, any type of FTK or OTK deck, you're still going to want to play this card in it. And then the One TT for board wipes. You don't like them to have big boards. So when they summon, you go boom, boom, bye-bye. Onto the fusions, which, again, this is just standard stuff. All of you normal GOAT players that know is what about to happen, you guys can leave the video, and thank you for watching. For the guys that are just starting to get into GOAT, I'll show you the standard GOAT monsters that you need. You need definitely 3,000 Eyes Restrict. It's probably the best card in GOAT, and when you think of GOAT format, the first thing you think of is Scapegoat or this guy. He's literally the control in GOAT format, in GOAT control. He's the control in GOAT control, at least when I think of it that way. The One Fiend Skull Dragon, all you really need is probably one of him, realistically. Reaper of the Nightmare. All you really need is one of this, but in this deck it has even more utility because it just so happens to be a zombie. So, cool things is like, your Book of Lights can actually reborn this guy from your grave, so you can keep going into him. So, you can bring back your Vampire Lord with his effect, and then you can go Metamorphosis into this guy here, and just start controlling the amount of cards in their hand off of this guy. And you can immediately reborn back your Vampire Lord off of Book of Life, or if they somehow get rid of this guy, because he can't be destroyed by battle. He's virtually Spirit Reaper. He has all of Spirit Reaper's effects just in a fusion monster. So you can just like Book of Life this guy back and just control the board that way and become very annoying to your opponent and hard to deal with. Dark Vaulter, again, you really only realistically maybe need one of this guy. There's really no need of having more than one. Dark Blade, only really need one. And then Ryu Shinshi, he's kind of like a better Jinzo in some cases. Another card that I don't have, but I need to pick up because you can literally get it for like 25 cents. It's a level 8 called Gatling Dragon. The chances of that coming up is probably going to be slim to none, though, unless if your opponent's playing like some sort of Lava Golem stall or Pac-Man burn deck. But, you could realistically have this huge stack of stuff, but you don't have to. And if you guys didn't know, for those of you either getting into the format or just new to the game in general, back then Yu-Gi-Oh! Had what was called a fusion deck. Now today it's known as the extra deck. And you could have literally a fusion deck that's just up to the roof. You can have 3 copies of every single fusion monster that was out back then and just throw it all into a fusion deck, which was insane. Imagine that today, especially with links. That would be very nuts, and I'm happy that they have a limitation on that now, because you realistically, if they had a 15-card limitation in GOAT, you would just be playing 3 of all of these guys if they did have a limitation. So even back then, I feel like that was unnecessary to have that huge of an extra deck. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to be bringing more GOAT decks here soon, especially once I get done. A few GOAT decks that I want to get done are Empty Jar FTK. I want to get another FTK deck done for you guys. I have Jowgen FTK already uploaded on the channel. And then I kind of want to get DMOC OTK, but I don't know how easy that's going to be considering that, Mass Driver is going to be a pain in the rear to get. I don't know if my locals would even have that. I would probably have to order it off TCG Player and wait for it to get here. I definitely have Monarchs that I want to try and get done too for you guys. That's another fun GOAT deck that I actually had built at one point in time. I just took it apart. But I'll probably rebuild that to bring that to you guys as well. And anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for all the commenting and stuff that you've been doing. Even the criticism. For those of you that leave the dislikes and for those of you that leave criticism, you guys are helpful too because it makes me know what I'm doing wrong, what I should change. And then of course the guys that like my videos and stuff and that comment saying, hey, I love the video. You guys, I definitely love you guys too. Anyways, this has been the Only Big Green Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm signing out.